This is a course on fraud. Shockingly few senior financial people I spend any time with even consider this topic at all. And I'm going to admit to you that I too did not think about this much until I was engaged a few years ago to develop a fraud awareness course for a large public accounting firm. It wasn't until I sat down with the experts and consulted the statistics that it struck me that this was something that every single senior financial professional should have on their radar. Now, we all have a predisposition to believe that fraud can't happen at our house, that our coworkers and employees are all honest people that can be trusted to do the right thing. Tell me if I'm wrong. Tell me that's not the thought that you're having at this very moment. Now, I was presenting this topic in recent years, and one participant shared with me that he had the experience where he found himself on his very first day working as a salesman, and his sales manager was teaching all of the new salespeople on how to pad their expense reports. Now, you tell me, how hard is it going to be for that new recruit, somebody green just out of school, who may never have ever dreamed of committing fraud in his life, to now commit fraud? His supervisor is literally training him on how to do it. He may not even recognize that he is committing fraud. So, pull your head out of the sand, pay attention to this topic. It's a matter that's of importance to you and your entire organization. Now, to prepare for this course, I have consulted the experts, professionals who see fraud day in, day out. I will refer to statistics throughout this course because you literally have to see it to believe it. For example, the experts have covered 2,500 cases that in total have caused losses of more than $3.6 billion. And so we're going to look at some of those recent cases to see what we can learn, and you're going to be astounded. But in all these cases, the median loss to the organization turned out to be $125,000 for each incident of fraud. Now, perhaps in a large company that doesn't mean much, but consider for a moment that fraud is disproportionately skewed to smaller organizations. Also keep in mind that one of your employees just doesn't walk in and steal in one transaction. The average duration of fraud is 18 months, which means that they are stealing from the organization in little unnoticeable chunks. Now, this course is about occupational fraud, and you can think about occupational fraud as the inside job. That is your own handpicked, loved, adored, appreciated employees. But make no mistake that occupational fraud is an intentional act of deception, which is often coupled with attempts to conceal by one or more employees, and the more employees involved, the easier it is to bypass controls to obtain an unjust advantage, which leaves it wide open for anything from stealing cash and inventory to getting special trips from suppliers or conferring a benefit to your brother-in-law. It's all fraud. But keep in mind that fraud is not an accidental mistake. For instance, if an employee mistakenly miscalculates a covenant on a loan or accidentally brings home the daily deposit, intent is one of those key distinguishing elements which is very hard to determine in certain cases. Secondly, in this course, we are intentionally only focusing on the inside jobs. This isn't a course about how to keep the thieves and the robbers out of your warehouses, or how to keep shoplifters out of your stores, or hackers out of your IT systems. Those are also very important topics, but beyond the scope of what we're going to talk about in today's course. So, to be clear on what you will learn during the course, well, first of all, we're going to raise your awareness of various types of fraud schemes. There are so many schemes out there that it's impossible to tell you about all of them. But we will talk about enough of them to hopefully solidify in your mind that you should be prepared for anything. Secondly, we will look at the psychology of fraud, as well as looking at the profile of the fraudster. Thirdly, we'll be looking at different anti-fraud controls. And because we have statistical studies, we can back that up with theory to determine which of those anti-fraud controls you need to consider to protect your organization. And finally, we're going to discuss detection, prevention, and prosecution of fraud using best practices and the statistics. So I'm going to urge you to take this course to become more enlightened. The subject matter, not technically challenging, but what is challenging is changing our perception of fraud and recognizing our own predisposed notion that fraud cannot happen at our organization. I'll see you in the course.